Nothing never happens. We talked about this briefly last night. Whether or not you know it, you are a fundraiser. And whether or not they know it, your colleagues, the people you work with, the people in your organization are fundraisers. And what they do day in and day out makes a huge difference for how your organization can raise money. So even when we are not out there fundraising, asking people for money, even when we're not sending email updates and things like that, who we are as an organization and the things we're doing make a difference in a very powerful way. Every contact that people have with your organization either is going to make them feel more like they understand your mission and want to support it, or probably a little bit less. There's not much neutral. And positive interactions can move those relationships in the right direction. Let me tell you, negative interactions with your organization have a disproportionate amount of power. And when people have negative interactions with your organization, even if it's not about fundraising, if it's, I called to ask a question about when something was happening and no one got back to me, I sent an email and no one responded. Things like that leave a strong impression on donors. And so we need to be very careful that in our organizations we're treating people well every step of the way, that we're responding, that we're communicating, that we're answering questions, that we're going above and beyond to show these people that we love them, that we care for them, that we value them, that we want them around. In higher education fundraising, and at least in the States, a big deal is raising money from alumni. So people have gone to the school and graduated. And one of the, if they've had a negative experience at the school, maybe they had a really positive experience overall, but let's say their senior year when they were about to graduate went to the registrar's office and asked for some information and got a rude answer, or didn't get something in time from the registrar's office for maybe an application to another school. Those kinds of things stay with people in a big way, and they will influence how people feel about your organization. So we need to be very, very careful about how we interact with people all over, not just in our fundraising interactions, but how we're treating them as an organization. So if you're the head of an organization, that means that you make a point of it, reinforcing that as often as you can with your staff, with your volunteers, whoever's interacting with your donors, potential donors, that we need to be very mindful of the reputation that we're earning day in and day out. And if there are ways that we can go above and beyond to serve people, those are the kinds of things that are going to set you apart from other organizations. If you respond quickly to that email that they sent with a question they had, or even if a person walks into if your ministry has a building, or if your church has a building, are things clean? Are people greeted warmly when they come in? Or are they a little bit dismissed? If we can go above and beyond and show that we really care for people, that will stick with them, and that'll help us earn their support. And this bullet point is a paraphrase of a Peter Drucker quote. That Peter Drucker is he's now deceased, but a management guru, and wrote a lot of books, and a gentleman's scholar in a lot of ways. But he says that culture eats strategy for lunch. So even if we have a great fundraising strategy and we have all these wonderful ideas about how we're going to go out and raise the money for our organization, if the culture at our organization isn't conducive to that, if we're not treating people well, if we're not good at getting back to people, if we're not keeping our commitments or making sure that people are greeted warmly when they're with us, those kinds of cultural issues in your organization will mean that your strategy is not going to be effective. But if the culture is right, then it'll make your strategy fly. So we need to be really in tune with the fact that everything we do is in some way affecting fundraising, and everyone at our organizations is affecting fundraising. One of the things I love about my organization, and I didn't build the culture there, people are so warm and friendly and kind and responsive There's just a joy in the air when you walk into our building and when you interact with people. And that's, again, that's not to my credit. That's existed long before me, and it'll exist long after me if I don't mess things up. So that makes it so much easier to raise money for us when people have those consistent positive interactions with our organization. They are much more likely to support us, and that comes up in donor meetings time and time again, that's something that stands out to people, just the way they're treated all throughout their interactions with our organization. So like I said, it's everyone's job. So that doesn't mean that everyone needs to be out asking for money. And not everyone should be out asking for money. That's not the way that everyone can best contribute, and God's given people gifts. But everyone is on the advancement team. Everyone is involved in fundraising. And I say this, basically this to my team at Jill's house quite a bit. The way we care for the families, the people who care for the families that we serve, they aren't directly involved in fundraising, they aren't directly involved in fundraising, but they impact it in a big way. Our advancement team is directly involved in fundraising, but they don't have that kind of impact on the service to the families. So that kind of runs one way. So everyone affects fundraising, but not everyone affects everything else. So we just need to be really mindful of that. And it goes back to a little bit what we were talking about before, about engaging people, everyone at your organization, in the fundraising task, whether through their own giving or just through their knowledge of the organization and the way they care for everyone. Cultivating that culture of generosity, it starts with the leadership in an organization. Are they modeling the behavior that they want other people to exhibit? Are they giving cheerfully and generously? Are they responding quickly to emails and to phone calls and things like that? Are we treating people well? And if the leadership in an organization is, typically people will follow that. But we need to model that behavior. And your reputation as an organization can help you in so many ways or hinder you in so many ways. If you have a bad reputation, no really great fundraising strategy or tactic is going to help you overcome that. If you have a good reputation, it's going to take you a long, long ways. So couldn't be more important.